we're now going to run through the pre-sent questions, and I am very happy to have on the line today Angela, who we just heard from, who is the Ipaths project manager, Jack Tilbury, who's the policy delivery and engagement lead for imports of animals and their products, Will Sermon, head of strategy and delivery for plant health, and Flavia Munteanu, who is senior policy advisor from HMRC. So I should flag that we'll not be addressing all the questions on the land bridge during this event, but we look forward to sharing more information in August when we'll have finalised communications. So we won't be responding to the land bridge questions today, but look forward to responding in August. So what I'll do is we were sent these questions and I'll run through them and then introduce the right policy lead on the line who will respond to them. And if we aren't able to go through them today, as we've said before, we will come back to you. So questions from Irish industry stakeholders. Number one is, can Irish businesses register for access to peaches and Ipaths in order to complete BCP pre-notification and upload the EHC where required as per? Must the businesses have an office presence in GB? So I'm going to invite Jack and then Will to answer this question, as Jack can respond to the product of animal origin element and Will to the plant element. So Jack.
Thanks, Ella, and good morning, everyone. So for Ipaths and for importing animal products, yes, you will be able to register for Ipaths, but we do state that the person responsible for the consignment should have a UK address, and they will need to be detailed on that application in Ipaths.
Hi Ella, it's Jason from the Plant Health Policy team. I think unfortunately Will has been pulled away just shortly, but I'll be able to answer that question. It's the same response as Jack, in that yes, you will need to have a UK address to be able to put a pre-notification on peach or Ipaths. What I can do is I can send a guidance document that we published around this, and I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you very much, Jason, and welcome. Apologies I didn't introduce you at the start. So next we have a question. So from the 1st of October 2021, must the original EHC accompany the product of animal origin and the high-risk food not of animal origin? So aware that the colour scanned copy must be uploaded by the GB importer to Ipaths, but what this stakeholder wants to know is, what about the original EHC? So Jack, if I can turn to you for that response, please.
Yeah, thanks, Ella. So yes, they are right. A scanned copy will need to be uploaded to Ipaths, but it is a legal requirement that the original EHC travels with the consignment. And so yes, it will need to travel with the consignment from the 1st of October.
Excellent, very clear. Thanks, Jack. So we also have asked a question about there are different client queries that come to DEFRA, and what this stakeholder wants to know is there actually a central FAQ document that can be developed so that we can respond in bulk? Jack, would you like to add something to that?
So I can only talk for the animal import side, but yes, we are developing an FAQ document that we'll make available shortly. It should be ready to share with everyone in the next couple of weeks, and that you'll be able to go there and address all your questions that you might have about the changes coming in October and then January.
That's excellent, thank you. And Jason, do you add anything to that question about a central FAQ document if you would like to from a plant's perspective?
Yeah, sure, no worries, Ella. So again, what I'll do is I'll pop a link in the live Q&A. Is we do have a published sort of Q&A covering, like you say, imports, exports, and things like plant passporting. One thing I will just quickly flag is that we're doing a bit of a revamp of that Q&A at the minute, so we're just in the process of updating it. But I'll pop a link in the Q&A.
Excellent, thank you very, very much, Jason and Jack. So another question is, when the importer is completing the pre-notification on Ipaths, does the EHC have to be uploaded at this stage, or can it be uploaded at a later time? So I invite Angela to respond to this question, please.
Thanks, Ella. Yes, I think I did cover it in the demo, but you get a different version number when you come back to Ipaths and upload it later. So there's no restrictions. You don't need to do it at the point of submission, so you can do it at later points.
Brilliant, thank you, very clear. So another question is, are there plans in place in terms of an automated interface between Ipaths and the Traces system, both in terms of e-certification and automated notification from one system to the other? Are you able to advise regarding timelines, if applicable? So Angela, I think you're probably best placed to respond to this query too.
Yes, so DEFRA does have some accelerated plans in place to introduce cloning with the EU, so the health certificate can be automatically uploaded into Ipaths using the details on that, but we are dependent on working very closely with the Commission on this, so the aim is for the start of next year. But like I said, we are very dependent on working closely with the EU, so we can't guarantee that timeline at the moment. We're also working on a trader API to allow notifications to be automatically uploaded as well. Again, this is aiming for the end of the year.
Excellent, thank you very much, Angela. So I think the next question, part of it was answered in Angela's presentation also, but I will read it out and then we can ask if Angela has anything further to add. So this one is, can DEFRA indicate the various fields or information that must be completed on the Ipaths notification? Also, clarity would be welcome in terms of required pre-notification timelines. Anything to add, Angela?
Nothing to add, no, thank you.
No problem, thank you very much.
Sorry, Ella, I can just come in on the timelines
Absolutely.
for pre-notification. I think it might come up again this morning as well. So for animal products from the 1st of October, we are aware that obviously the pre-notification time is of importance to the industry. We are just finalising what that needs to be for the 1st of October, working with trade and with the Port Health authorities who will be conducting the checks to make sure that we're taking into account the impacts of trade, but maintaining the biosecurity measures that we need in place. And we will be able to share that notification time with you very shortly. And sorry that we aren't able to do so this morning.
Thank you, Jack. That's great. So thanks to Angela and Jack for that question. So the next question is, what is the process for sending samples of products of animal origin to GB post 1st of October, retail, scientific and medical? So obviously in the presentation we did run through some processes, but Jack, do you have a response for those other three elements?
Yeah, sure. So if you're importing samples for retail, then the same controls will apply from the 1st of October. So they'll follow the same phasing at each stage. So from the 1st of October, pre-notification and health certificate, and then the full controls from the 1st of January. Where the product is for research, we do suggest you get in touch with the Animal and Plant Health Agency, as there may be some variation to those depending on the product and what what its intended use is. So it's difficult to answer to that one because it is very much case by case and dependent on the product. For medical products, it again is dependent on the product. Broadly, if it is covered by MHRA or VMD legislation, or it's a finished medical product, then it's possible that that exemption from SPS controls will apply. But if it is just, for example, a nutritional feed product, it is still just considered products of animal origin. It's not a licensed medicine, and the full controls would apply. But again, in this situation, we recommend that you speak to either your certifying officer or the competent authority who will be able to advise you on the specifics for each product.
Excellent, thanks very much, Jack, very clear. So another question is the container or fridge number more appropriate than truck registration number for the EHC? Jack, I don't know if you can respond to this one.
So I think this will depend on the mode of transport. So if we are talking about load on, load off containers, then the container number is usually more appropriate than a truck registration number, but obviously not in other cases. Again, suggest that you discuss it with the certifying officer, and they'll understand the process, and you can talk through the modes of transport with them, and they'll be able to advise.
Excellent, thanks very much. Okay, so this question is probably for Angela. So it says, in a recent joint DEFRA EU Commission webinar, DEFRA indicated that the EU exporter could notify the BCP by email of a change in vehicle. This could result in a significant volume of emails to GB BCPs to alert them of updated haulage details. And the question is, could this be done via the Ipaths system instead? So Angela, over to you.
So from October, it's not a requirement to add that detail into Ipaths, but from January you will have that ability because it is on the CHED that will be used from the 1st of January. I'm not sure if Jack, you want to add anything further to that?
So no, I don't think there's much more to add. I think the other thing you can do is just contact the BCP at the point of entry as well.
Excellent. So if a product is certified into a GB-based import plant from a Republic of Ireland export plant and dispatched to multiple customers from that GB plant, what paperwork will DEFRA require that import site to maintain? So I believe for this question, we are going to take it away and respond in writing. On to the next question we have. It says it concerns where goods subject to official controls are returned by an Irish importer to a UK supplier for commercial reasons. And this stakeholder would like to understand as to what the required process will be for such SPS goods returning to GB post the 1st of October 2021. So Jack, it would be great if you can respond to this one.
Sorry, I was still on mute there. So I think this will depend. Sorry, I might have slightly misheard the question. It would depend whether this is a good that's been exported. Has this been exported from Britain to Ireland and then returned, or is it the other way around? Sorry, Ella. No
problem at all. So this is to do with the products returned by an Irish importer to a UK supplier for commercial reasons. And so they'd like to know what required process will be for SPS goods returning to GB post 1st of October.
Thanks, Ella. That's helpful. I actually am going to have to take that one away. I do know that the guidance is available on gov.uk, so I will find the link and I will share it so everyone can access it now. But off the top of my head, I cannot fully remember. I think it will depend on the reason for the rejection. If it is for commercial reasons, then it will need to follow the import controls. Obviously, if it's been rejected because it hasn't passed any SBS checks, then it may need to be destroyed rather than returned. But I will get that guidance and I'll share the link so that everybody has access to it.
Thank you, Jack. That's brilliant. I'll also invite Jason to respond from a plant's perspective.
Yeah, so if the goods are sort of rejected for commercial decisions when they're in the Republic, then yes, when they are returned to GB, you will need to make a sort of an Ipaths/Peach pre-notification and upload the sort of the original GB phytosanitary certificate that accompanied those goods, and then the sort of competent authority will then undertake a sort of a risk assessment as to whether those goods need to be inspected sort of upon return. So yes, you will need to make a pre-notification.
Brilliant, thank you both. So SPS goods which are sent to Great Britain to be consolidated before being exported to other third countries. Such goods must remain under bond when moving into the UK and entered a bonded warehouse for consolidation before being exported. If such SPS goods are unloaded in bonded warehouses in GB, will they be required to be certified by the UK authorities for export to the rest of the world? So a fairly technical question. Is there somebody on the line that would be able to respond to that question?
Sorry, Ella, I think we might have to take it away because it touches on some elements of transit and exports requirements, whereas at least for me, I could only comment on the importing side.
Excellent, thank you, Jack. That sounds like a good idea. Let's take it away and come back to it. So the next question is, if I have a query and there is no BCP established at the port of entry, where can I address queries? Is there a central information line? I do believe one of these might be being set up, but I'll invite anyone on the line to respond in their areas if they know for sure and can direct our attendees.
I was just going to say, Ella, it's Jason again. So if it's related to sort of plants and plant products and the phytosanitary requirements, I can put sort of the contact details within sort of for APHA, who will deal with sort of any queries related to imports, recognising that obviously if there isn't a BCP at the point of entry, that there'll be sort of limited things that they can do, but they should be able to advise you appropriately. So I will pop the contact details in the chat again.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jason. That's great. And we can come back to you for other areas and contact details as well. So I have, when is Peaches transitioning to Ipaths? So Jason, Jack, I'm not sure if you're able to comment on that. Jason, that would be great.
Yeah, so at the minute, we're obviously looking across the sort of the next couple of months to move across from using the import pre-notification system known as Peach to Ipaths. What will happen in the next couple of months is that you'll be contacted as that migration occurs. So if you're sort of already registered on Peach, then obviously we have your contact details. Again, I think in one of the Q&As that I provided earlier on, but again, I'll put it in the chat again, is there's some published information around sort of what will happen on the plant health portal. So I'll pop that in the chat again and people can have a quick read of that as it contains sort of the information they need in there.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jason. That'd be great. So I have a question which we maybe touched on a bit before, but in case any colleagues want to add anything further, what is the rejections policy for SPS goods imported to GB from Ireland?
So I don't think this question will be one for us, Ella. If it's been sent to Britain and it's been rejected here, it will be up for it will be just down to our Irish colleagues to say what the requirements are for those goods coming back.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Jack. That's great. So for organics, is an IT system planned to replace the interim manual paper-based system? So I invite Angela to respond to that question.
Thanks, Ella. Yes, so it is in our strategy future plans, but at the moment there's no timeline available, so it will move across to Ipaths in the future.
Brilliant. Thank you, Angela. So this question is about prepared consumer foods. So are there owners in DAFM and DEFRA for the prepared consumer foods category? And can we work together to ensure that we have an end-to-end solution that is fully tested and works? This group could also be a point of escalation to resolve issues post 1st of October and 1st of January. I can imagine, Jack, that you wouldn't be able to respond in total to that question, but I invite you to comment potentially on the prepared consumer foods category.
Thanks, Ella. I think you know the request for us to have full end-to-end solutions. I mean, we are doing everything we can to make sure that the end-to-end process is understood by everyone, and we will continue to do so, and make sure that, you know, resources and educated materials are available before October and January, and are always happy to work with people to help make sure that they're ready to meet the requirements that come in.
Excellent, thank you very much, Jack. So next question is, there have been a number of conversations regarding the requirement for the vehicle registration VIN number to be entered on all the relevant paperwork, including the EHC. This attendee would like us to clarify how this will work for roll-on, roll-off trailers which are unaccompanied on the ferries. So the nature of the operation is that various trucks collect the trailers at the factory and bring them to the port in Ireland, and then in the UK different trucks will collect the trailers from the port and bring them to the warehouse. This attendee says it's not operationally possible to assign a vehicle to each trailer. Jack, would you be able to comment on that?
Yeah, thanks, Ella. So I think this is similar to what I said earlier. So for these type of movements, I do believe that for those health certificates you can use the container number, but I think it's clearly you know, a point of interest for today's session. So what I think would be helpful is we'll just confirm that as well with one of the veterinary advisors on our end, and we'll provide a proper response in writing for those situations so that everyone's got access to that and is confident going ahead before the 1st of October.
That sounds really helpful. Thanks very much, Jack. So the next question is about cheese pizza. So it is, please confirm, is a cheese pizza a composite or dairy product, and is a meat pizza a composite or is it a meat product? And dairy product, as in both cases, the topping is not cooked. Jack, you might be able to respond on pizza.
Yes, thank you. It's my favourite topic. Yes, pizza is a composite product if the product contains processed products of animal origin. So that is the key part there. So it must contain processed products of animal origin in order for it to meet the definition of a composite product. If it doesn't contain processed products of animal origin, it wouldn't be possible for it to meet the definition of a composite product. But for particularly for pizzas, I think I would always recommend that you speak either to the BCP at the point of entry or with the certifying officer at the point of export to make sure that the product is being certified properly, as it will be very much dependent on the specific ingredients and the processing for the individual product. And without ingredients lists and those details, it's not always possible to give a concrete answer. So just to repeat, if it contains processed POAO, it can meet the definition of a composite product, but I'd always recommend that you speak to the BCP or the certifying officer about the individual product.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jack. So the next question is, should exporting Irish FBOs all be registered on Ipaths in any case, and how do they do this? So that might be a Jack and Angela combo potentially, but if we go to Jack first. Yes, they'll need to be registered on Ipaths if they need to make a pre-notification. If they're not going to make a notification and the GB importer is making that notification, there would be no need to register for Ipaths. And I believe there's a video online, and there will be some sessions made available for anyone who does need to know how to register. But perhaps Angela could add a bit more on that.
Thanks, Jack. Yes, so we do have, so currently on the Ipaths start page, there is a user guide on how to register. So the main items that you do need is your company's house detail if you're a limited company. I can also share a link to a video as well into the chat to help people. And like Jack says, I will be running webinar sessions to walk through the process step by step next month.
That's brilliant. Thank you both for that helpful answer, and looking forward to those webinars. So the next question is, what is the timeline for the pre-notification of imports to UK and transit through the UK on Ipaths? So I believe, Jack, we potentially mentioned this earlier, but is there anything you'd like to add?
No, nothing to add on my earlier answer. So just to reiterate, I suppose, we are aware this is an important part of the process for October, and everybody is eager for confirmation, and we will make it available as soon as possible. We are just working with the Port Health authorities and with industry to make sure we are setting a notification time that balances trade requirements and also meets our biosecurity measures and requirements.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So I am now going to check to see if we have, this could be a question for our HMRC colleagues, but we have it on import licensing requirements. So for EU-wide imports, tariff details, the import license requirements per product code, where are GB import license requirements listed? So I don't know if we have somebody on the line that can respond to this question, or we can take it away.
Can you hear me, Ella? Hiya.
Yes, brilliantly.
Oh, good. I was struggling to get in. Can you just repeat that, because it unmuted me and then it basically ate part of the question up?
Absolutely no problem at all. So it's to do with import licensing requirements. So for EU-wide imports, tariff details, the import license requirements per product code. So where are GB import license requirements listed?
Well, so I'm not sure this is entirely an HMRC question, but I'll check it out with our tariffs team and provide a written response. There is a list of various requirements per product on gov.uk, but I'm not entirely sure it falls entirely to HMRC. It could be BAYS as well. So let's pick that up offline and I'll provide a written response.
That sounds very helpful. Thank you very much. So yeah, we will get back to you and coordinate with our other government departments to respond to that. Okay, brilliant. So I've got another one on vehicle identification. So in terms of vehicle identification, a truck number will not be known until the tractor unit arrives at the facility to collect a container or trailer. So this truck may only bring the trailer or container unit to the port of Ireland, and a different truck may carry the load to GB. So the requirement for a truck number will therefore result in discrepancies between the EHC and the actual truck entering the GB BCP. So what this attendee is hoping that we can advise is what approach it will take if there is a discrepancy between the truck registration number entering the GB BCP, which is the same as that notified on Ipaths, versus a different registration number on the EHC. So Jack, I'm not sure if you're able to respond to this.
Yeah, thanks, Ella. So in a situation like this, the truck number that's on the health certificate will need to be correct. It will need to be the one that enables the health certificate to be certified and signed. If the truck number changes during the journey, then you would need to notify the BCP for the point of entry, or you can update the Ipaths notification from January. So I think Angela mentioned earlier it's a requirement from January and on the Ipaths notification. What that means for October, where there is no point of entry, there is no BCP requirements from October, you just need to ensure that it is correct at the time of issue for the health certificate, and then from January it will be important that you do update the notification or contact the BCP, because if it doesn't align, it can be the basis for failing the documentary check, which will increase the likelihood of a BCP intervention, meaning either identity or physical checks.
Excellent, that's brilliant. Thank you very much, Jack. So I believe that the DEFRA section is now to time. So I will pause there, and as stated at the start of the presentation, we'll look to address the remaining questions that we weren't able to respond just in our section after we conclude today. So many thanks for listening to our session, and to all our specialists who joined us today to respond to queries. So I'd now like to hand over to my Irish colleagues to take us through the next part of the webinar. So many thanks, and I welcome Louise.